All right, good morning, everyone. This is awesome. I'm glad everybody's here. Actually, without no mask, we can see everybody's face. And we're actually meeting together. So let's get this started. Stand up and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Jim, could you start us off? Sure. Everybody's ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to start off with a moment of silent reflection. So we'll start that soon. Everyone. We're going to start off roll call here, and then we'll go remote if we're good with that. Yeah. All the way on the end, Barlow.
Commissioner Higby, Lincoln County.
Heather Lackey, Douglas County, representing Pest Control.
Jim Snyder, Lyon County Row Crops.
Valerie Drake, Humboldt County Petroleum Industry.
Woody Worthington, General Ag, Douglas County. Chair.
Bernard Peterson, White Pine County.
Charlie Free, Churchill County.
Mr. Coons and Mr. No are absent, but we can go to Las Vegas. Dave Coon.
Dave Coon, Clark County, Dairy Industry.
Mr. Parrott. Mr. Parrott.
Pete Paris, Elko County.
There are no board members in Elko at the Elko office.
Okay, perfect. So you got it?
What's that?
So we're going to start here with actually NDA roll call. Go ahead. Okay, there you go. It's you.
Jennifer Ott, Director of the Department of Ag.
Samantha Bellett, Executive Assistant, Nevada Department of Ag.
Doug Ferris, Division Administrator for Animal Industry, Department of Agriculture.
Homa Anusha, Food Administrator for Division of Food and Nutrition, Department of Ag.
Amber Meyer.
Present.
Dr. Amy Mitchell.
Present.
Administrator Cadence Matievich. Sierra Russell.
Present.
Dylan Davidson.
Present.
Michaela Jones.
Present.
Valerie Hoffman. Chairman, I know that they are currently online.
Perfect. That's good to go. Noted. All right, we're done with agenda item number 1. We're going to move to agenda item number 2, public comment. We had a couple of them, I believe, right, Sam?
Yes, sir.
American Wild Horse Coalition Species or Connection. I can't read your handwriting. Connection, sir. Go ahead. You're up. Yep, absolutely.
Hello everyone, my name is Greg Hendricks. I'm with American Wild Horse Campaign. I'm the Director of Field Operations, and I work with the Department of Agriculture through cooperative agreement with the Virginia Range Mustangs Fertility Control Program using PCP. I wanted to, first of all, thank the department and the board for their support of the PCP program with the Virginia range. I thought I would share just a couple of the outputs from that particular program with you, so you have some of the current numbers that we've just run this month, not taking away from Doug's report, which I know that he'll be also covering some of this information as well. We'll be coming up for renewal of our cooperative agreement at the end of April, and again, we would obviously support being able to continue on with this effort. We've finished our 3rd year so far. Again, thank you for the support, thank you for the board's interest in doing this, and right now, with the Virginia range, since the program restarted back in 2019 April, we have treated 1,676 mares, and we've treated them with 5,368 doses of PCP. That's all done with a good majority of volunteers, and right now a lot of them are using their own trucks, but we're paying for the gas. So it's definitely a program that we've invested in, the department's invested in, and again, we thank the board and the department for that support. Hope that we can move forward with that. One of the things that we saw with the end of our 2nd year treatments, 243 fewer foals were born in 2021. And that is compared to 2020, the year before. So that's about a 43% reduction. And that's actually pretty good for an early result on a PCP program. We're anticipating our 2022 foal counts to be even lower. And primarily that's a result of us gaining more access with the private land. We're at about 87 different properties, including businesses. Most recently, Switch signed on, and they're going to allow us to dart on their property, as well as the Nature Conservatory has also signed on. So we have about a good majority of businesses that are supportive, as well as our private individuals. So it's a program that people see the need to do, and we're in the process of trying to turn that number down so we don't have the continual growth of horses on the range. And right now it looks like our numbers are stabilized and they're starting to move downward. We'll see, there'll be a little spike with the foaling season, but overall we're seeing that the number is stabilized at a pretty close to zero population for this year, and we're hoping to see that go down this 2022 in an effort again to make some progress here and turn the situation around. Right now we're doing research with the University of Pretoria down in South Africa. They're reviewing our data, helping us with our protocols, helping us get better at what we do, and also helping us with the science of fertility control. So we're real excited with their output. They have 3 years of data from us. And again, we're looking forward to continuing on. I hope that you guys are in agreement that hopefully this progress is worthwhile. We're willing to do it, and I hope that you're in support of it as well. So with that, I'll close. I think I'm at my time.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. We're gonna go to Elko. We have Jennifer Garrett, thank you.
Good morning. I am Jennifer Garrett, and I am here for 2 reasons. The first is to oppose mandatory yearly trichomoniasis testing in Nevada. We feel that the current regulations, if enforced, will ensure that problem trick areas in Nevada can be cleaned up. This issue was talked about in 2019, and now it has resurfaced. When it came up then, we distributed a petition against changing the current regulations and obtained 180 signatures from ranchers demonstrating their opposition to changing the regulations. Even though this petition was signed 3 years ago, we feel it is still valid today, and we will be sending all of you copies of this petition and the signers. Requiring annual trick testing will cause an economic burden to both the state and producers at a time when increased costs are already causing many economic hardships. And why? What is wrong with the current regulations? Trick can be cleaned up by enforcing the current regulations that require that if a bull tests trick positive, then all the neighboring herd's bulls have to be tested for trick and cleaned up. This ensures that trick-infested areas will be cleaned up. It is overreach to force all producers in areas that have no trick problem to have to trick test their bulls every year. We want to voice our opposition to changing the current regulations and show that there are many other producers against it also. The second reason for this letter is to relay the frustration over the lack of communication your department has with the product that it is, with the producers that it is regulating. Two examples are the recent brand inspection changes and the trick regulations you're currently trying to change. The change in brand inspection costs and meetings were very poorly noticed to the producers that had to comply with them. The same has been done concerning the trick regulations. I would never even have known of any new trick regulations happening that I needed to oppose if I hadn't been emailed a business impact survey regarding trick. The same non-communication continues regarding the results of that survey and the trick workshop. It wasn't until I was researching for this letter that I found out the date of the trick workshop and the results of the trick business impact survey from someone I talked to outside of your department. Why wasn't this information emailed to me the way the survey was? Also, no answers have been given to many questions asked in public comments about the changed trick regulations. Specifically, was the public notified when these proposed changes were being discussed? And if so, where were the notices placed? What is the reason for these changes? Were they governmentally or industry generated? Was the public included when making these changes? What will be the cost to enforce them, and how will enforcement be paid for? Who makes the decision on whether or not these regulations are changed? The Board of Agriculture or the Director of the Board of Agriculture? In closing, I urge you to not change the current trick regulations, only to enforce them. The government mandating that everyone annually trick tests their bulls puts unnecessary and undue burden, both financially and physically, on producers when appropriate regulations are already in place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Good morning. This is Jeff Fontaine. If I can provide some public comment, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Jeff Fontaine. I'm the Executive Director of the Lincoln County Regional Development Authority, and I have the privilege of working with Commissioner Higbee, who's also a member of our LCRDA board. I just want to say that I had a chance to watch the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources last week, and during Director Ott's presentation, I was really pleased to hear that the Department of Agriculture is working with the Governor's Office and the idea of using American Rescue Plan Act funds to implement a state meat inspection program. And I just wanted to convey Lincoln County Regional Development Authority strong support for such an effort. Like many of our rural counties, there are limited opportunities for economic development and or diversification in Lincoln County. And in fact, the latest census report shows that Lincoln County is still below the state's median household income, has a shrinking workforce, and really an aging population. However, crop and animal production really is an important industry sector in Lincoln County. And unfortunately, almost all the livestock that's raised in Lincoln County for commercial sale is taken out of state for processing. Of course, that creates not only additional costs, but delays for producers. We are really pleased, however, to see that we have an emerging industry in Lincoln County. Meat harvest and processing facilities. There are actually 2 facilities now that are pretty well underway. One is actually under construction at the Meadow Valley Industrial Park in the city of Caliente, and the other is planned for the Alamo Industrial Park, which is property that is currently owned by Lincoln County. And both facilities plan to harvest and process locally raised livestock for sale to Las Vegas and other local markets. You know, we're just really excited about that opportunity. It's going to create some jobs, and both of the owners are local producers and have committed to creating high-paying jobs, developing apprenticeships in the high schools, and we're working with the local workforce development folks to get people trained up. But more importantly, it really captures that added value of processing for reinvestment in the community. And we're also beginning to hear about opportunities or businesses that want to come in and support those endeavors as well, and ancillary businesses. So, you know, we're really hoping not too far in the distant future, Lincoln County is going to be able to brand itself as really a niche meat processing locality for Nevada, and we look forward to the possibility that there will actually be a meat inspection program administered by the state of Nevada. And again, thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment.
Thank you very much. You got his information?
Yes.
Perfect. Is there any more public comment out there?
If you're joining us online and would like to make public comment, you can use the raise your hand feature if you hover over your name in Zoom. Public comment.
Hearing none, we're going to close public comment. All right, we're moving to agenda line item number 3, the minutes. Board, please take some time and take a look at those minutes for action, please. That was on December 8th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Chairman Frey, I move that we approve the minutes.
There's a motion on the floor for approval for the minutes for December. Is there? Yes?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we got a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we're going to approve the minutes, or as you were. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It's so moved. The minutes are passed. All right, moving to line item number 4, discussion and approval of the Board of Agriculture bylaws. Do we have our DAG on?
Yes, he is.
Perfect. Can you speak to this? Can you hear me?
Good morning, Chairman Worthington.
Thank you, Richard.
Did you want me to discuss the?
Yes, please discuss. Sorry.
Yeah, no, well, so I had sent you an email yesterday. There were some legal issues associated with the bylaws. I would prefer actually to speak to you about this privately, which can be done. You can receive legal advice outside of the scope of an open meeting, and then you can choose to discuss those issues with the board if you like. The attorney-client privileges can be broken by you, and I don't think it's appropriate to speak about the issues that I have in an open meeting. It risks the possibility that somebody in the public can exploit any weaknesses in it. So if it's okay with you, perhaps we can not move forward with this issue today, discuss it privately, and then you can decide what you'd like to do with it moving forward.
That sounds great, Richard. We're going to go ahead and shelve number 4A on the bylaws, and then once we have it out and kind of figured out, we'll get back to the board on that. Thank you, Richard. So we're going to move to line item number 5, discussion on Demar resolution. Last time we wanted to bring it back up and discuss it, the board did. Does someone want to start that off as far as discussion on that, Harlan?
This is something it needs to be addressed. I mean, has everybody read the resolution? And so what you're running into is horses and cattle being shipped across district lines. We have to buy permits, and most of the time you're doing self-evaluations of your livestock. And so they're really hard to enforce. If people are gonna be dishonest, they're gonna be dishonest regardless of whether they're going out of state or whether they're staying in state. So it's an added cost to the producers. I don't know how deep you want to dive into this. So I guess, any questions?
So it's up for discussion, board. So if you guys want to discuss the proposed resolution, and we put it back out there. It was a little confusing last board, but now we can have discussion on it. If you guys take a look at that board, and like I said, it's open discussion on that.
Is district lines, I guess I'll ask you, is district lines state lines or just within the
District
state?
within the state,
So you have to get brand inspection just do across district lines?
yes. So,
That's,
to give you an example, a few years back, we had a stock contractor, which I worked for, crossed over from Clark County or from Las Vegas where his livestock was housed. And because he went around by Indian Springs, instead of going over the hump to Pahrump to put on a rodeo, he was stopped and given a ticket for going around by Indian Springs, because there's a stretch of the 95 highway there at Indian Springs that's actually in another district. And so it creates for rodeo people and for livestock people, my operation especially, I winter in the south and I summer in the central part of Elko at Curry. And so I have to do permits back and forth, and
it's not always been like that, didn't it? Used to be just statewide?
that I couldn't answer. I don't remember, I always remember there being districts, but there used to be more districts than there are now. There used to be, Doug, maybe you can help me out, there's 6 districts, now it's down to 3.
For the record, Doug Ferris, I believe there were 17 districts. Each
Well,
county was a
Each
district.
county was a district. I knew there was,
In order to help the producers, the department actually changed NACs, I believe, back in 2017, making it into 4 districts for the entire state.
yeah. So it makes it hard, especially
I
for
don't know why
rodeo
it's just
people
not
that are
statewide. Yeah, oh
hauling
yeah.
horses every weekend during the rodeo seasons, and if they have to have inspections, you can get a lifetime inspection on horses. In fact, they request it, they don't mandate it, but so it's for the rodeo horses, you can do that. The other part of the resolution has to do with livestock, the investigation and theft of livestock, and letting our local sheriff's departments help in that. Because what we run into, like in Lincoln County, and over the years we've had a few get caught and actually prosecuted. But it was actually local sheriffs that finally brought it right down to local deputies that actually finally got enough evidence to, along with help from the state,
Right.
to convict these individuals for livestock theft.
Does that help
No.
livestock threat?
See, and that's what the resolution is
Yeah,
trying to do,
that's
is
what I say,
just
whether it's
do away
statewide
with
or
the,
districts.
yeah, do away with the
Right.
district lines completely.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this would have to go through legislature to change it, or can we change it as a board?
I believe, I mean, Richard, you still there?
Yes, Chairman Worthing, I'm sorry, I missed what the issue was.
So it's okay. We're having a discussion in regards to the proposed resolution.
You're forgiven.
As far as brand inspections and stuff like that, I just need clarification. Correct? It would have to be a law to change any part of the brand. inspections and districts and stuff like that, correct?
Yes, that would be correct. It'd have to be a legislative process or a regulation making process. It'd require notice, if it's a regulation, to this board and to the public. You'd have to open it up to public comment. You could talk about those things right now, but you couldn't do anything about it today.
Right.
Perfect, yeah, thank you.
That was my question, if we had to have it changed through the legislature, or if we could do it policy-wise with our district lines, our boundaries and the way that it's administered.
So I would have to research the exact issue to see whether it conflicts with current statute or whether it conflicts with regulation in order to provide you a better answer.
Perfect,
Okay,
that sounds
fair
good.
enough.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. Yes,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question, Mr. Chairman. What would be the drawback if we did do what Marlon said and we got rid of the districts? What would be the negative impact on that?
I can't answer, but I
I'm
don't know.
just curious.
Yeah, we would probably, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I would have to hear a full discussion of the pros and cons and all the issues involved.
Okay. As a board, do you guys want to put this on the agenda for next time or have more discussion in regards to it so we can have some fruitful information on it?
Well, I'll get with Demar then, and he can put together, somewhere I think he already has done it, put together a pros and cons on it.
Okay.
And so it's just a matter of getting enough information out. So yeah, we can have I was hoping he'd be on. Let him explain it.
Perfect. All right, no problem. I appreciate that. So we're going to go ahead and we'll add it, Samantha, to, yes, go ahead, question.
Bernard Peterson, I think we need a financial analysis of the program. What does it cost to process all the trip permits today? What does it cost for the brand inspector to go out and do a county inspection? And what does it cost at the Elko brand office for them to process all of that? And then will that be a financial benefit if we eliminate the district lines to the department as a whole and to the producer?
Sounds like, Barlin, you're going to spearhead this.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Demar, I appreciate it.
So,
Throw me under the bus.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
can you hear me? Pete Paris?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd just like to add to the comment a little bit about the district line thing, because like our operation falls on the district line and we have allotment on both sides of the line. You can walk cattle back and forth across the line, but you can't truck the cow back and forth across the line, whether it's 100 feet or 200 feet, to be technically completely legal. So that's where, and there's a lot of states out there that have, the state is open to move and transport your livestock. And most of these permits are self-done, so the Department of Ag is not physically doing the inspections per se all the time. I'm not saying they never do, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of them are self-inspected. So basically, I guess the negative side for the Department of Ag is the revenue they lose for when you buy that booklet. But the hardship for the industry and to figure out how much we're gaining, stopping theft, stopping a lot of things. I don't see it for the industry. I think that's why this has been being brought forward. Like I said, there's several people that live on two sides of a line, and if you can steal a cow and walk it across the state line, it's still illegal. But with this regulation, I can take my horse and drive the cow across the line and back and forth, and the neighbor's cow or whatever it is, and be totally legal. But if I got a sick cow on the other side of the line, I rope her and put her in my pickup, didn't know she's sick, don't have my book, and I want to take this sick cow home. And if I were to be found, that's illegal. So that's the big picture of this, this system that's not really functioning like it should, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete, appreciate that. So let's shift it over to Garland. Get as much information you can in regards to that, and then we'll put it on the agenda item for next time.
And I noticed that, I don't know, there's a thing on here, they asked about brand inspections for horses be discontinued. I don't know how, if that needs to be
Well,
included in
only
some
if they go out of state. If you go out of state, like with horses, you still have to meet, depending on what state you're going into, you have to have all your coggins and all the other tests that have to be done on to go out of state, plus a brand inspection.
Right.
Because if they stop you somewhere in the port, they will impound your horses.
Right, or if you take them to auction in the state.
Well, if they go to auction, anything that goes to auction has to be inspected by a certified
Whether it's a horse
brand inspector, horse, cow.
sheep, yeah.
I don't know, do they inspect sheep, Pete?
All right, we'll definitely roll to the next agenda item number 6, but you got it? Thanks, I appreciate it. And then we'll add it to the agenda item for the next go around. So we've got Reno Rodeo presentation today. Go ahead, you guys. The floor is yours. Appreciate you guys coming.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you about our effort that we are pursuing, and just kind of tell you the story of it. First of all, who we are, what we're doing, why we think we have a chance of doing it. The focus is the Livestock Event Center, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. My name is Perry DiLoretto. I'm the president of the Nevada Western Heritage Center Alliance, which is the successor of the effort that was started by the Rodeo Association and has been supported by agricultural and Western heritage people throughout the state to address the issue of the condition of our Livestock Event Center. This is a fine facility. I remember when it was opened, I was there in the grandiose days with the snaffle bit futurity and some of the great agricultural cattle horse events that we used to have there. The facility has enjoyed less than the amount of attention that it deserves. It's a fine piece of public infrastructure that has been let to deteriorate. It is in sad condition. Go into some code issues, ADA compliance issues, and you know, I look at it and I wonder, how does this happen? How do we spend this kind of money on public infrastructure and then watch it deteriorate without being properly addressed? And you know, the maintenance and capital expenditures are usually one of the simplest, the easiest things to move out of your current budgets, especially when budgets are running real tight. But I came to the conclusion that as people that really care about it and really care about this way of life and the importance of it are not in charge. This facility is owned literally by the state of Nevada. It's leased to Washoe County. Washoe County has an operating agreement of some sort with the RSCBA, and we all know the history of RSCBA with respect to owning and operating things like event centers and golf courses and that type of thing. So what's happened is the Reno Rodeo over the years has been intensely involved in trying to address this issue. I go back some 17, 18 years with an effort to try and maybe move the facility, trade it off to the university from land at University Farms, which is now a large part of it's going to be an industrial park, to improve the situation. None of that went anywhere, but over the last 3 years, the Rodeo Association started a heavy lifting effort to address this issue. They appropriated $1 million of their money. They were able to get a state grant, matching grant of $1 million. And with that money, they have proceeded to do a very thorough master plan of what the facility could and we think should be. But it was recognized partway through that effort that while the rodeo is probably the main focus of this facility, it has a much broader appeal to the rest of the community. There's a lot of other things that do go on here and could go on here. So the idea was conceived to hand this effort off to a nonprofit organization, which we named the Nevada Western Heritage Center Alliance, and establish a board of directors, all volunteers. We have a very fine board. I'm sure you'll recognize the names. Michonne Squaga is here with us today, Andy Morency. Clint Thesis is on the call with us by Zoom. Ollie Miller, who's our Deputy Chief of Police in the city of Reno. Mary Simmons, Mike Torbinan, past president of the Rodeo Association, is here with us today. Mr. Tom Dolan, who's a great supporter of the rodeo efforts. Carrie Ann Sattler. And by the way, I see the Historic Women of Nevada Agriculture. Karen will be the first female president of the Reno Rodeo in 2024. Very enthusiastic supporter of everything that goes on. And Mr. Ethan O'Brien. We also have a number of advisors. We've liaisoned with all of our local governments. So our effort has taken the form of getting out into the community and raising the awareness of what's going on. We have met with just about, and I say just about, I think we're missing 2 of all of our elected local officials, Reno, Sparks, Washington County. We've talked with them, we've met with them. We've engaged with numerous people at the state level now, an interim finance committee, inroads into the governor's office, trying to carry this message forward. And what we're here looking for is support, enthusiastic support, if you will, simply to carry on this effort. We felt that the best way to approach it was to come up with a plan, which we have, break it down into phases. It's significant money. The grandiose overall plan, the green plan would be something north of $300 million, broken down into phases. The first phase is just in the low 80 millions with current construction costs. And it happens to be there's a fund of money that the state is now figuring out how they're going to roll up $2.8 billion in CARES money, recovery money that came from our federal government. We got it, I'm not sure, but it's there, and we need to take our shot at getting part of it. So our effort has been to, first of all, make the short round down. We're on the list in Carson City, okay, and we want to carry a good story down there, and we think that starts with getting resolutions. We've had one from the city of Sparks, unanimous resolution in support of our effort. We're going to get one from Reno, we'll get one from Washington County. We appeared at the RSCVA the other day for a very important discussion about the condition of the center and the operations of the center. So again, what we're trying to do is gather up our local support, take that story to Carson City, and work our way through the political whatever morass that you have to go through when, because getting money allocated is serious business. This is not a subsidy program. This is not an expense, but this is an investment in public infrastructure. Along the way, we feel like we have to address the issue of, if we are successful, how do we keep this from happening again? In other words, you build it looks nice, they open it, and then how do you keep it that way or make it continually improving it? I think I can honestly say that Washington County would just as soon not have anything to do with it. They don't see any purpose in it. RCVA would just as soon have it off out of there. They are subsidizing it seriously to the tune of about $1 million a year. These types of facilities historically have to be subsidized because the benefits to the community are somewhat indirect and can't be measured by exactly the revenue that they generate. It's not like the parking garage at the airport, okay? It's not like that. It serves so many different purposes. So we've come up with a proposal for an interim solution for the management of the facility. And by the way, the current managers are on their way out. They'll be gone the 1st of June, I believe this is. The rodeo is the 3rd week in June. So we have some concerns about, a continuity of the operation. So as our 501c3, we have offered to the RCVA that we will step up and form the organization that it takes to take over the operation management of the facility on an interim basis. See if, first of all, we can get capital improvement money in place, and then from there move into suggestions for a permanent solution to the operation. We all firmly believe that this facility has to be managed by people that care about it. It's that simple. People that share our feelings about the importance of our Western way of life, our agriculture, the advancing to go along with it, but at the same time appealing to a broad base of the community for other activities that could go there. I happen to think, and we have a lot to talk about there, that the ultimate solution is something that comes down from the state of Nevada that sets up a separate operational entity, an authority, solely with the purpose of taking care of this facility. It's that significant. Similar to the way the airport is run. You know, you have an airport authority, they're appointed, they're accountable, their focus and their mission is that. So that's where we are. We're not here asking for anything other than if you would consider some enthusiastic support for us. If the subject comes up in your discussions, we're working hard at it. This money has to be allocated by the end of 2024. We're gonna go ask for $80 million. We'll take all or any part of it that makes sense. We'll bring those results back to our community and see what else we need to do, both from our local governments and in the private sector. The rodeo's been around for 102 years. I think it's 102, yeah. It's a significant event. It's a wonderful, I think it's the premier event that takes place in our community. And it's very self-sustaining. So that's pretty much it. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. We can give you some more information about the plan if you'd like to see that. I would ask, maybe Mike, we could put out some stuff at whatever level of detail you'd like us to go into.
I have a question. On your drawing, it has a proposed parking garage.
Yes.
Is that part of the facility that Reno, Sparks, or Washoe County owns buildings in that area? Am I correct or not?
Yes, Mike, would you like to?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mike Corbinian for the record. Just to the south of that parking garage is the current county complex.
Right.
In the 1800s, when the land was purchased by the state, there were some deed restrictions that it be used for agricultural and industrial purposes. Jennifer's well aware of that. It's actually on Mrs. Ott's, Director Ott's inventory of land, and that's the state owns it. So just south of that is the county complex. That parking garage could serve the county well, and the ground floor of that parking garage is where the animal stalls would be, the horse stalls, if you will. Covered out of the elements. There's another, yeah, that's a good picture there. The blue part is what we're talking about, phase one. So the existing building, the existing indoor arena would be the only building left based on our plan. And we would rehab that, bring it up to code, ADA, new HVAC, new all kinds of stuff. And then some of that stuff's being done now. And then we're proposing a complementary indoor arena just to the north of that and replacing the exhibit hall that we tore down a couple of years ago due to the fact it was in total disrepair, and there's no reason to put money into it. Rodeo rents a big tent to replace that during the rodeo, but our plan is, phase one is just that, and that's where the $80 million is, so.
Oh, question.
Sure.
I understand phase one.
Okay.
But all the phases basically are very important to the success of rodeo, right?
Mm-hmm.
My concern is it was really difficult to try to get Washoe County to move off of that property. We attempted to do that before and didn't have any success. Have you talked with Washoe County? Are they agreeable to your plan on future proposal? I understand what you're doing immediately, but again, you're gonna need parking, and that parking garage is really important.
That's actually phase 3 of our project, because if we conceive this as the facility operating during construction. A lot of disruptions, the parking's horrible now for the rodeo, but it'll be even worse during construction periods. We've bussed people in for the last couple of years. But the county is, yes, to answer your question, the county is well aware of it. They're not putting up roadblocks. Actually, a couple of years ago, we had some discussions with their long-range planning folks, and when we threw the idea of the parking garage on the table, their eyes kind of lit up, because it was like, yeah, that would work really well for us. And the university actually has interest in the parking garage also. Their property right across the street. President Johnson, before he moved on, was interested in the location and the ability of students to use that and bus them up to the campus also. So.
Okay. Do you have money proposed to relocate the Washoe County offices?
No, we don't.
Because they have some pretty nice buildings, I think, there.
Sure.
And they would probably want to be reimbursed or whatever if they're forced to move or convinced to move.
I think the plan is conceiving that we coexist, and that we coexist, that there is no plan to move the county at this point. This is
on phase 2.
Again, see of them ever leaving their location.
Oh, okay. That was my question.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Because it appears that.
No, we're not encroaching on that at all.
Okay. That answers my total question.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Yep. The proposed parking garage is on a parking lot right now,
Correct.
not on a building.
Okay.
Yeah.
The county's over here.
Yeah.
Yes, right now. You can actually see some of the cars in the picture you're looking at there.
Okay, thank you.
Board, any more questions?
Kind of question.
Yes, go ahead, Norm.
So, I've spent most of my life in the rodeo industry. From the time I was about 8, 9, 10 years old till up to about 10 years ago. So, the idea of, I like the concept. That's what you're doing here is a great thing. And the Reno Rodeo, like you say, is one of the more famous rodeos. It rolled in there with Denver and Calgary and some of the other bigger rodeos across the nation. So it'd be a shame to see it not expand and grow. It's a great thing for the whole state of Nevada, not just in the NFRs in the southern end of the state. There's no reason that we can't do something like this in comparison to that. This is a good layout. And if something else you might check into is like where your parking garage is, and between the university and the county, Washoe County, maybe they would kick in and help you build that parking garage.
Sure. We'll have
They'll benefit from it, yeah.
We'll have those discussions, sure. And along with the funding, the $1 million funding from SB 501, we commissioned a feasibility study business plan by Applied Analysis, Jeremy and Laura. And what that found is for phase 1, the annual recurring economic benefits are 1,100 jobs, about $50 million in wages, and $6 million of revenue for local entities. The school district's about 1.2, the county's 1.3, and it pencils out well. We're pretty excited about the opportunity that the relief dollars have provided, and I think it's we're shovel worthy, as they say, and we're farther down the road than many of the projects that are being proposed to the governor's office. There was a website that everybody put their ideas in. There's about 2,000 ideas, but everybody we've talked to, we're down the road much further than anybody else, thanks to the appropriation of the $1 million in 2019.
Another question.
Sure.
The livestock show, is it tied in with Reno Rodeo? I know they do a junior livestock and the 4-H program and all that's tied in with this too, the same facility. Is it held the same time as Reno Rodeo, or is it at a different?
It's not. I would, as the former rodeo president, I would love the stock show to happen at the same time as the rodeo, just like in Denver and Fort Worth. They're at a different time. Actually, the Nevada Junior Livestock Show Board statutorily has authority over what goes on these properties. They have to give their blessings to any of the changes that happen. One of their members who sits on our board as an advisory member, Tom Cates. He's a past rodeo president also. But they have in the past passed a resolution in support of the project long before we got to where we are. But they've been supportive all along, and we do keep them informed and work with them.
Thank you.
Yeah, Michonne, could you talk about the Nevada Resort Association District?
Sure. As you may know, we were part of the Nugget and actually hosted a lot of livestock events over the years. Everything from the Angus Futurity to the Western Hereford Association. We had sheep shows.
Thank
We
you.
actually had a sheep show in our garage at the Nugget. But we approached the Nevada Resort Association here recently, and they agreed, they also participated in the governor's listening tour and were asked what they would support in the way of tourism projects. And they agreed to put forth this project for the north. And that was really a great accomplishment for us because both the Southern and Northern Resort Association members voted to support this program. And I think in large part because, you know, 80 million is a lot of money, but it's actually very doable. We're well on our way. Our project, due to the, you know, again, the Rodeo Association is very well baked. We have worked, we've got plans in the process, we're ready to go. And I think that was very appealing to them. And I have to just say that with phase one, if this moves forward, right away, we are going to realize a huge gain. It's not like we're putting in all this infrastructure that you don't really feel the benefit of until you get phase two completed. With phase one, we will be competitive. We'll be able to go after a lot of this business that we've lost. So, you know, again, trying to tackle this from all angles, not just through the economic development side, which is very real, but also going through the tourism side of it as well. So, hope we can be lucky.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You were up first.
Bernard Peterson, I have a question for you. Over the course of the year, the operating year, how many days and how many events does the current facility run? How many actual days are they operating revenue-creating events?
Mr. Wilden tells me about 75. That's a good question. I know the ACTRA still comes to town. There's some truck pulls, I think.
Yeah.
Which isn't really ag related unless you're talking big, you know, farm trucks. But so there's a lot of downtime at the facility. Reno Rodeo we utilize the facility about 2 weeks a year. And our economic impact is $50 million. And we're separating ourselves from this project because Reno Rodeo can't sustain the project on its own, clearly. That's why we've created the Nevada Western Heritage Center Alliance. And we just feel like if we can replicate events similar or like Reno Rodeo, 3 or 4 more events a year, that's another $150 million flowing into Northern Nevada. And we think we can do more than that. As part of the economic feasibility study, the applied analysis did an analysis of a range of attendees and how many attendants and how many from out of state and that kind of thing. And that's where they came up with the estimates of the number of jobs and the economic impact. It's all very positive and we're thrilled to see that.
Thank you.
We have access to all the records off of the operation of the facility now. It's nowhere near what it used to be. If you could just get back to what it was doing, let alone the increases, but it's dark. I mean,
Well, it's evident it's not creating enough revenue if you can't maintain the roof.
Pardon me?
I said it's evident if you're not making enough revenue to maintain the roof.
Right.
It's sitting dark.
Yeah.
A question, are you working with the Reno Sparks Convention Authority? Because that used to bring in a lot of revenue to that property. So you've contacted them, I'm sure Michonne had.
We presented at their board meeting just last Friday. And we have a meeting there tomorrow with their executive staff to discuss us taking over the operation of the facility. They were very supportive. It's been talked about for a long time. The rodeo was seriously engaged. We don't think it's the right thing for the rodeo to directly take it on because we're trying to appeal to a broad base of the community and get into the neighborhood and you know, get everybody some input. So no, it's been on the table. They'd like to move off of that responsibility. So we're basically saying, hey, if you continue to subsidize it at the level you're at and turn it over to us that are really going to pay attention to it, we think we can do much better for you. And given the fact that how many managers have they been through on these properties? I mean, this is, they go through as many managers as do as executive directors over there. You know what that's, the turnover is significant. So, and we're not interested in any of the other properties that they have. Our focus is solely the livestock event center.
Well, it would be nice to see something happen, because there's been such huge events that have been lost over the years there that I would love to see some of them back.
We think we can bring it back.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, and possibly you could consider a resolution of some sort. All we're asking for is, hey, it's a good idea, knock yourself out.
Thank you. Thank you. Very appreciate it. Thank you, Sean, Mike,
Thank you.
For the presentation. We're going to move to agenda item number 7. Just saw the duplicate 7 and 7. You see that? Board members' updates and represented industries. We're going to start in Elko and then Vegas, and then we'll move here.
Nobody here, I don't know,
Oh.
other than me, so.
Yes, this is Pete Paris.
Yeah. I thought he was.
Can you hear me okay?
There we go. Gotcha. Yes, sir.
It's snowing and blowing here today, and I'm not sure how much internet coverage we're always getting. So, but anyway, as far as the industry update in the sheep industry, everything is kind of moving along. We would have liked more moisture during the winter. Prices are holding pretty high right now, but there's not a lot of sheep available. So I guess maybe that's why the price is doing what it is. Sheep shears are, I think, getting through the hoops to get their sheep shears into the country. I know the sheep herders are arriving pretty much on schedule, but also a lot of them are arriving and learning through the pipeline that they just walk off and go do whatever they want instead of herd sheep after somebody pays their visas and transportation to get here. And other than that, it's just about status quo, I guess.
Thank you, Pete. We'll move from snow to Vegas.
Well, we're enjoying the snow. It's a little hard. We're trying to calve a bunch of cows in the purebred sheep flock, and we get about 2 or 3 inches every day, which we enjoy, but we don't like the wind and the cold.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Mr.
Okay.
Coon?
Yeah, Mr. Coon, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
The dairy industry continues to be challenged like every other industry, every other business during these times. But we believe, as a member of the industry, that the industry has learned how to adjust, how to change. Retail and grocery segment of the dairy industry has grown due to work model shifting, where people are working at home, therefore eating at home. There's confidence that the food service part of the industry will continue to improve, especially those areas, those regions of the country, or more specifically our state, as they reopen the resorts, and as they make a real effort to draw in different venues, different events. That will go a long way in getting people back and purchasing in the resorts, which is so vital to the industry in our state. Consumers understand the value of essential nutrients in milk, which is good. The good news is there's an ample milk supply. Cows continue to give milk. We're grateful for that. More specific to the Department of Agriculture, perhaps, we continue to be, as a member of the industry, continue to be grateful as to other members for the oversight. The capable and experience of the inspectors that come into our plant, those that enforce and regulate marketing practices within the state, and ensure that everyone is abiding by the same rules, same laws. We're grateful for that oversight, that regulation and guidance. It's important that through all these trying times that the industry, people can trust the industry and be confident that they're receiving a safe and healthy product, and that those that are producing it, processing it, and distributing it are all going by the rules that have been established long ago in the state. So on a just in summary, we're confident that things will bounce back, but I suppose maybe the best we put is we're still bouncing a little bit. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. No.
Paul's up.
Yeah, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, the nursery industry actually has been probably most least affected of any of our departments by the pandemic. We've actually maintained good sales through the industry. It's starting to level off now a little bit. Our biggest concerns and problems are with the weather. You know, down here we've got 1 or 2 days of spring where all the plant material is starting to flower and bud out, thinking it's going to be warm weather. And then the next 2 days we get cold wind that forces them back into a semi-dormant state. So it's kind of rough to keep up with the weather. And the other thing is obviously the transportation costs and moving products with the fuel prices rising as they are, just making it a little more difficult for everybody, I think, in all of our industries. But other than that, we're maintaining and seem to be doing a pretty level business as of right now, and hoping to pick up a little bit more as it gets warmer for the spring growing season.
Thank you. Sam, do we have any more remote people, or is that board members?
No,
Oh, that should be it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, Marvin.
Me?
You're up.
I think I've been doing all the talking.
I know, right?
Just shut up.
What does that mean? Go ahead.
Prices are up a little bit on the lightweight calves. Still droughty. We're hauling water, and that's another thing. The price of fuel is diesels went up. Our water trucks for hauling has doubled in the last, and so the cost of hauling water because of the drought and a few other things, the feed. There's a feed event you got to haul water to the feed to get your cows out there. And there's got these huge allotments that we're working with, and out in the corners and the fringes, there's feed there, but it's too far away from our original waters to get your livestock out there. So we're hauling water, which is an expensive, and hay's doubled. Oh, you can pretty have, you know, that's your two options: you either haul water or buy hay. The market in the store, and there's a disparity between the markets in the store to the consumer and the producer. There's a huge disparity there that we need to look into, and maybe we can come up with some ideas of how to get past that. I know that our local producers, our local, it was brought up earlier that there's two, Jeff brought it up, there's two small packing houses going into Lincoln County, which will help alleviate some of that and put some pressure on the large packers to buy off the open market. There's some bills in Washington that USCA is floating right now that will require the large packing industries to buy a certain percent of their killer feedstock, I guess is what you would call it, to feed their packing houses off the open market instead of a captive market like they've been doing the last 15 years. So there's some hope coming down the pipeline, and pray for rain, I guess. Pray for rain.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Heather Lackey for the record. So pest is good. People are starting to loosen up finally and let us come into their homes without so much pushback, which is nice. There are a lot of complaints, obviously, about fuel costs, but you have to give and take a little in every area. Labor is still an issue. People are definitely still having problems getting people to show up and work. But I imagine that's probably going to be getting better here shortly. I think that really what it's coming down to right now is a lot of the power of positive thinking, a lot of realizing that we do have struggles and challenges, but we do kind of have first world problems, and keeping that in mind. Just trying to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem, really. So it's been challenging, but I think that the mood is starting to change a little bit. I think it's starting to loosen up and get better. And I think that this is the year of change. 2022 is going to be riddled with change, and I hope everyone's ready for it, because we're in it. But I think it's moving along. I think people are starting to find ways to diversify and meet some of the new challenges that we have constantly. So it's going along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Lyon County right now. Drought is a big part of the conversation, with maybe a slightly better water year than we had last year, but not very good. The allocations were set by the irrigation district this last week, with 26% on the East Walker and 34% on the West Walker. So that is not real good. As a result of drought, hay prices are really very high, crazy high, which good for producers, tough on dairies and livestock producers. Vegetable and onion crops are going in the ground in the near future. There'll probably be 7,000 or 8,000 acres of vegetable crops planted in the next couple months in Mason Valley. They, of course, depend on the water. But, and this past year for onions has been challenging, but the market has probably compensated somewhat there. Dairies, the dairies are having a tough time with hay prices and feed supplies. All their feed commodities are very high. And other than that, we have the Snyder Bull Sale coming up this weekend, and we'd like to invite all of you to be there and buy a bull and join us.
That's kind of a plug, wasn't it?
Yes, I apologize.
Not a problem.
Throw it in there.
And Rotary and PEO will be putting on a great party Saturday night. Tickets available.
All right, well.
All right, Valerie Drake, Humboldt County. I represent the petroleum industry. A lot's been going on lately. Most of the winter we've been dealing with some diesel clogging issues, which Cadence will be discussing shortly. Recently, the war between Russia and Ukraine has caused the increase in fuel prices tremendously, more so than I've ever seen. It's literally gone up $1.50 in like 10 days at the wholesale market. That's humongous. So I already see though this morning, I just checked, crude's down like $12. So I think we had a spike. It's mainly speculation, and people are panicking and buying. I've never seen people buying at the pump or 3 weeks out on deliveries. Can't even keep up because people are in panic mode, which causes the prices to go up. So I almost feel like telling people, if you do need fuel, you might hold off and wait a little bit because it's already way up there. So we're also finding problems. I was just told by my supplier that heavy duty motor oil, forget getting any for a month. So additives, shortages. I'm sure some of the chemical people know this, so doom and gloom, but so this will pass too. Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie, we appreciate it. Woody Worthington for the record. General Ag in Douglas, we are in season 6, I think. There's like, you know, do we put pre-immersion down? Now we have to do, you know, spot spray and a lot of that fun stuff going on. And yes, the drought is a very concerning issue. We were hoping to get a little bit more white stuff up on the hill. But a lot of the producers there are just business as usual, getting stuff done. And livestock guys as well. Do we feed? Can we let it turn green? Is the hopes. So that's basically about it for General Ag there in Douglas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bernard Peterson, White Pine County, semi-range cattle operations. As I'll mirror what all these guys have said, White Pine County, Northern Lincoln County, we're under the, if you look at the NOAA drought monitor, we're under the dark red still. Those areas have not received significant precipitation. It is very dry there. Most producers are feeding cows. With that said, and with all what's going on in the rest of the world with the Russians and the Ukrainians and fuel prices, I think agriculturally we're going to have some big hurdles to get over this year. 1152 fertilizer a year ago was under $300 a ton, and today it is $1,000 a ton. And so, you know, our operation, we've curbed back all the things, all of our inputs that we can, and still stay in business. But I think it's going to be big. That, you know, Berlin was saying that the cattle market is the biggest laggard in meats right now, and one of the biggest input costs. So, you know, hogs are over $1, chickens are off the grid, sheep are $350 a piece for a lamb, and steer calves are still $1,000 a piece. They need to be at $2,000 for us to break even, I think. So we got some big hurdles. It's going to be a very interesting marketing year, and drought is definitely still creating an impact in eastern Nevada.
I'm Charlie Frey, representing Churchill County, and the farmers out there, of course, has had pretty much similar, the same type of problem, especially with the lack of water. And a lot of the farmers chose to go ahead and deep rip and disc their property before, and they never even had water to put on it last fall. And believe it or not, those crops that they ended up planting are looking really good. But again, without that additional water to sustain those, especially grain crops, and the cost of all ingredients, including fertilizer and fuel and everything else, has really hampered the farmers. We're just hoping that things will turn around quickly, and they can come back and have a decent crop. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate that. Awesome. We're gonna go next to line item 77.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, go ahead.
I've thought about this a lot, and it keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. We got Western, and it's kind of a philosophical statement, but it has to do with our founding, our Constitution, where we come from, and why we're here. You got Western states that aren't really states, Nevada being one of them. We are still a territory, because the Constitution basically tells us that once we become a state, all the territory within our state boundaries either becomes the states or the people itself. That has never happened. Well, it has, and it hasn't. It has, and the state legislatures haven't recognized the fact that the surface rights have basically been through the 38 Homestead Acts that were passed between 1960 and 1906, somewhere in there, that the surface rights were basically turned over to the people themselves of the state. And the state refuses to recognize that. And we look around the world today and see where we're at. And now more than ever, the understanding of why a state and its resources, the natural resources within that state, are so critical to the state itself. Andrew Jackson, when he vetoed the Western Lands Bill, made the comment in the dissenting opinion that he wrote. He said, when those states become states, those territories become states, and they will become states, they need to have their natural resources intact so that they might fund their state and local governments. Here in the state of Nevada, none of those resources belong to the state or the people themselves. We have oil fields right here in the state of Nevada that are capped and not being pumped. And yet, here we are. We're paying $7 a gallon for fuel. And we should be able to have some control over that and some say. Our mining industry has just been crucified. The only thing left in the state of Nevada is gold and silver. There's copper, and there's ever imaginable mineral and rare earth mineral in the state of Nevada that is not being tapped because it's controlled by the federal government. Somehow that has got to change, folks. It's got to change. We're never going to be whole. We're just going to be a territory.
Thanks, Marlon. Appreciate that. We're going to move to line item 7. So, director's report.
Excuse me, sorry. All right, there has been quite a bit happening over the last quarter. I'm going to hit some of the highlights, and if you have any questions on any of the items, please let me know. I'll start off with, I had a wonderful opportunity to spend, some may not like it, to spend a week in Washington, D.C. I was able, while I was there, to meet with many members of leadership at USDA to discuss agriculture and food in Nevada, able to discuss how our food and nutrition programs are working, the successes that we have had, what we need to continue to meet the needs for Nevadans here. I was able to speak with Administrator over APHIS to talk about our needs for infrastructure, has been discussed in this board meeting, helicopters, those kinds of things for wildlife services. I was also able to talk about our plant programs and the need for funding and support of our specialty crop industry in Nevada as well. All of those meetings went over really well, and we have some suggestions on language and future funding to work with USDA to provide the state so that we can continue and start new programming to support agriculture and food here. I was also, while I was there, able to meet with many of the federal delegation to discuss federal budget and language changes to support agriculture industries. You'll see it here kind of listed out below. It's not been a secret that our Mormont cricket funding is discontinued and will run out of funding this year. Although there has been immense support in additional federal funding to be added to the budget to support future cricket and grasshopper efforts. So we're working really hard to see a continuation of that funding and that there won't be a break in any services by the state. We're also working with my colleagues in Utah and Idaho to also complete that as well. Especially crop language to support those states that have a smaller specialty crop program in order to receive funding for positions within the Department of Agriculture to support those programs like they should be supported. I am happy to say that just this morning I got notice that our project that we had pitched to go into the federal fiscal year 22 Consolidated Appropriations Act was put forth this morning and will be voted on by Congress. So that was included, and
It's expected to pass through Congress and signed by the president as part of funding the government. So the department will receive $500,000 to hire a project manager for the Virginia range, as well as to install fencing in high traffic areas to keep horses off the roads. And then continued discussion on public land support, invasive weed treatments, and reseeding efforts in post-fire situations. I'll skip on down to a success story, Home Feeds Nevada. This is a constant conversation that we continue to have in the department of how we support agriculture in Nevada with the funds that Nevada receives to buy food. In the last legislative session, SB 370 was signed by the governor to create this program. We were able, through American Rescue Plan Act funds, to hire a position, and that was approved in the beginning of December. We were able to hire a position in 2 weeks after we got approval for that. And in this climate, if you can imagine what a win that was for us. And that person has been off and running, and we actually expect to launch that program at the beginning of April. And so in basically less than 5 months, we've been able to turn that program from bill to action, which is unprecedented and really excited for us. So, and exciting for the industry. So more on that as it comes out and as that funding becomes a reality. Under partner coordination, I was able to attend a joint NDA and Made in Nevada event to launch the first craft beverage passport, and I have some here for you. I'm gonna pass those out. This is a passport listing craft breweries, distilleries, and wineries in the state of Nevada. You can visit. You can support your local businesses. There's some in Eastern Nevada.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So, and you can get your stamps and stamp your way through Nevada, supporting local businesses. Many, like you are. Hey, the pandemic has affected us all. And if you notice, there's portions of this in the craft beverage passport. There's designations for many of these entities that use locally Nevada sourced ingredients in their preparations. So it's a great way to tie agriculture and industry together and encourage the public to go out. It just brings more light to the industry as well, which was what we're really excited about. This was launched at the end of February, and we'll continue to discuss it throughout the year. I was also able to, or the department has been partnering with Division of Health, or Department of Health and Human Services, to receive funds from USDA to create mental health resources for farmers and ranchers. This is something that has been supported throughout the United States, and the program in Nevada is launching over the next couple of months, so we'll see some of that activity as well. And also working with Department of Health and Human Services on additional funding to support food programs in daycare centers, to further support daycare centers so that kids have a place to go, so we can get people back to work, because we really need folks to get back to work and you know, do a lot of these jobs that are needing to be done. And hopefully some of them come to the department. And as mentioned in public comment, I did present to the Joint Interim Committee on Natural Resources, giving an overview of the department and some of the big issues that each division within the department is working through at this time. And was able to also present some of the ideas that I'm working with the governor's office on to use American Rescue Plan Act funds to make improvements and to assist agriculture and food. And one of that is the meat inspection program. So I'm hoping at the next board meeting we'll have some great news and good announcements on that. Other areas including investing in infrastructure in our food and security sector, especially in the rural parts of the state where it's a little harder to get those food deliveries. So I feel like a lot of the efforts over the last year are really starting to come together, and it's pretty exciting. And on the final note, as the report, rather than hearing it from all of the divisions, I just wanted to make you all aware, and hopefully that you can communicate with your industries. The department has not escaped the great retirement and the great resignation that has really been affecting a lot of our industries across the state. And so I appreciate the patience. We have folks that are doing 2 or 3 jobs at a time, and hiring has been, you know, if we get any candidates for a position, we're thrilled. Most of our open positions, we might get 1, maybe 2 candidates for some of our open positions. So we're definitely running at a reduced capacity. So we appreciate patience, and it just is taking us longer to do things. So with that, is there any questions?
Board, have any questions? Digested at all?
No, I got none.
Always give them a hard time. No, thank you, Jennifer, appreciate it. I know there's a lot of stuff that's in motion, obviously, and just appreciate you and your staff supporting everything that's going on. So awesome job. Keep up the good work. We're gonna do, let's see, let's go to 8, and then we'll take a break after that. Animal industry. Just up there. Finally get to see you after a couple days. Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Doug Ferris, I'm the Division Administrator for the Division of Animal Industry. Some of this I'll go a little more in depth, and then some of it I'll just kind of skip over. There's a lot of stats in there. Some of it, I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time. Some of our pending matters of significance. NDA's rebuilding a livestock inspection program that was in accordance with the business plan that we were required to submit to the legislature. That was presented and approved during the December 9th Legislative Interim Finance Committee meeting in 2021. In addition, the adoption of language revisions to NAC 564 and 565 were approved through the Legislative Commission in December of 21. And then also revisions to the proposed language of NAC 571 were drafted and released, and public survey and small business impact statement were completed. And that was actually noticed on this Monday, was sent out. The first workshop will be on March 22nd at 1 p.m. Moving on to our partnership activities, we continue working with USDA APHIS and furthering Nevada's animal disease traceability plan. We provide our third quarter updates to USDA. Staff have also completed the applications for cooperative agreement funding through USDA for 2022. Those have been submitted, and I know one of them has been approved, and I believe the other one is pending. Our staff also participated in the completion of USDA APHIS trace performance measures for 2021. And we're successful in completing those performance measures. Along with our partnerships with Wild Horse Connection, we have the cooperative agreement, which was re-signed in August of 2021. They report, as of for fiscal year 22, 538 calls or responses that they've. We also, some of these updates were included previously, but Wild Horse Connection is working with different city, county, GID type areas in both Fernley and Reno, as far as horses that have strayed off the Virginia range, getting them back in and working with fencing projects on those. Wild Horse Connection reported 27 horse versus vehicle crashes in 2021, and there were 46 in 2020. This data doesn't include the Fernley and USA Parkways, so. been relocations of 66 horses, so that had moved into the urban areas. Those were relocated to different areas of the Virginia range to get them out of the urban. Moving on to American Wild Horse Campaign. As Greg mentioned earlier, we do have this agreement is coming up in April this year. We continue to receive monthly reports from their organization, and they've administered at this time 735 have administered vaccine to 735 individual mares. And then their database currently includes 3,077 individual identified horses in the Virginia range. Moving on to our program updates, commercial feed has 448 registered and active accounts. Livestock enforcement, I'm not going to go through all of those, but just some of the highlights is for this fiscal year, they've had 65 investigations, 68 follow-up investigations, 5 animal health, and quarantined 759 animals from an event, while also completing 307 traffic stops. For livestock identification, staff have completed over 9,500, almost 9,600 brand inspection clearance certificates for approximately 349,000 animals. In doing this, they incurred over 9,200 hours worked and almost 200,000 miles of driving to perform these inspections. Our staff have renewed 73 brands and approved 200 new brand applications and transferred 67. There's been over 2,500 livestock assessment filings for 21. Issued over 4,300 livestock movement permits, and mailed out over 4,800 livestock assessment letters for 2022, 2021, 2022. We have 95 agricultural licenses issued for this fiscal year, and staff at the Sparks office have received in excess of 150 calls or emails relating to Virginia range horses. Moving on to the predatory animal and rodent control. Staff have provided technical assistance and recommendations to producers across the state. The primary species addressed at this time include 56% coyotes, ravens 43%, and then the remaining 1% is equally represented by mountain lions, striped skunks, and badgers, and 1 feral dog. Staff have also provided outreach to 155 individuals or businesses and taken 6 samples for testing during this time. The product losses that have been verified by staff consist of 59 lambs, 9 adult sheep, 8 calves, 2 horses, 10 chickens, and approximately 3 acres of alfalfa due to feral swine damage. Moving on to veterinary medical services, the Animal Disease Laboratory has performed 5,400 procedures, accounting for over 22,000 tests or services to date. In addition, they provided an annual brucellosis surveillance testing for the dairy industry, performing 468 brucellosis tests. Our staff has completed proficiency testing for brucellosis testing, and we currently have 4 staff members that are certified by USDA APHIS in doing that. We have some other proficiency testing that was completed through the Wisconsin State of Laboratory and Hygiene Proficiency. Our ADL supervisor performed 2 field inspections at Nevada Veterinary practitioners' locations. This is for veterinarians that perform cultures for Trichomoniasis testing, and they both passed. ADL staff hosted the Truckee Meadows Veterinary Nursing program class of 2022 this year. We've done that annually. I think the only time was perhaps last year when during the middle of the pandemic when we couldn't have people attend. So glad that we can have that program going again. ADL, let me see here. We did have a system upgrade to our laboratory information system that was pending for probably a year, so that's a huge help to all our staff in that. The supervisor, animal disease supervisor, continues to work with Centers for Disease Control, and this is on a project related to data modernization between all of our agencies. Veterinary diagnostician and state veterinarian both attended the AAVLD and United States Animal Health annual conferences. I made this update long time. I should learn to shorten things. Through the implementation of some new biopsy techniques and outreach, we were able to ensure that NDA successfully met the Nevada sampling requirements for the scrapie consistent state status, which hadn't been done previously. So this is kind of a milestone for our program. Investigations involving trick infected or exposed herds continue, and as of February 16th, there are 6 premises are under hold order for Trichomoniasis. Routine scrap feeding inspections continue, and also the rabbit hemorrhagic disease virus that continues. State veterinarian continues working with other agencies on that. The RFID tags, we have both the 840 and the OCV tags. We've received additional supply of that through USDA, and those are available to producers. State veterinarian continues to work with local law enforcement, animal control authorities on some disease investigations and matters involving public health, and as well as she continues working with the industry partners and USDA on some other foreign animal disease investigations, and state veterinarian also attended a tabletop exercise in disease outbreak management for our state, and she has completed 1 of 2 training courses in regulatory official tuberculosis testing. In addition to that, there's ongoing communications with the state veterinarian and USDA regarding African swine fever, and then the recent detection of the highly pathogenic avian influenza. Moving on to our dairy processing and auditing program. They were able to, this program staff were able to purchase new automation to support antibiotic testing. See, now I got my pages out of order. Page 5. Need to clean my glass. Along with that, I'll just try and hit some of the high points on here because there's a lot of numbers and a lot of stats in here. So also received grant funding for equipment replacement through FDA for a microscope to replace an aging microscope that we had. And then we also received some additional funding for training required for our staff and their continuing education. We're happy to say that we filled our dairy microbiologist 4 position in Spark, so that's a huge hurdle that we got over, and we're happy to have them on board so we can keep moving things forward. Staff have attended multiple conferences throughout the year, some in person and some that were actually offered virtually, so they were able to attend. We have 22 food manufacturing processing facility inspections, inspections, and 20 re-inspections. Of the 14 milk pasteurizers in the state, they completed 26 equipment tests and issued 25 warning or compliance notifications. There's been 7 complaints and received and investigated, 8 single service facility inspections, collected 376 milk samples and 39 water samples, evaluated 6 plant samplers and 8 bulk milk haulers samplers, 5 farm plant ratings, 8 single service facility inspections, 17 milk truck inspections, 27 consumer inquiries, 40 store checks, 400 blood samples for brucellosis testing, 2 food safety plan reviews, and 4 label reviews. We also had some staff that attended and completed FDA pasteurized training. In doing so, we had one staff member, or an additional staff member, that actually became passed the certification to be a delegated sampling surveillance officer. Our auditing staff conducted retail store checks, 233 locations, 21 investigative reports done for remittances and closeout audits. These audits yielded over $21,000 in remittances and late fees of over $2,000. There were 9 applicants registered as dairy distributors due to these field investigations, and the dairy distribution program currently has 236 licensee accounts.
That's all you guys been doing?
That was it, yeah, that was it. Other than that, we've just been hanging out. So,
Bernard Peterson for the record. Doug, I got a question on page 4 under the RFID tags.
Okay.
The 840 tags. How did that program come about where you were sourcing and funding the tags?
So previously, for the record, Doug Ferris, previously we were able to purchase tags through the cooperative agreements through USDA. We'd receive funding that we could buy 5,000, 10,000 tags. And then in doing that, we could provide them to producers free of cost. Since then, we have received additional tags, but then USDA is also shipping us tags at this point for the entire state. Just off the top of my head, I think we received another, or have another 19,000 that are being processed and sent. And then same thing, we're able to provide those to producers.
Okay, so my own problems I've encountered with using the 840 tags supplied by you or anybody else other than a third-party auditing outfit like IMI Global or Superior Verified. If I as a producer get my tags from you, my 840 tags, we'll specifically stick with those. Those are the international shipment type tags that you can ship anywhere to Europe, right? If I take your tag and I sign my cattle up to Superior Livestock for auction and I have their program tags and I got a multitude of programs that go with our cattle,
right, I
still have to pay. The third-party auditor charges me $3.50 to verify your tag that you gave me for free. I might as well buy the tag from IMI. It costs $3.50. I'll have to pay an extra fee. And I went through this scenario just this last week, and so for me, it's hard to understand why you would supply the tag, because it's a cost to you to manage, when anybody in the state that is signing their cattle up to these programs has to pay a third-party auditor anyway. And so I'm not sure there's a benefit to producers unless they're not familiar with the programs that are out there.
And I would say, for the record, Doug Ferris, I would say that's probably a lot of it. I think us supplying the tags and at no cost is more as education and just trying to get it out there, because we have so many producers that don't implement that
Could
program.
be, because if you're applying the tag but you're not consigning the cattle to a program, it's a wasted RFD tag. It's an expense that, why would you do it? Right. So anyway.
Okay.
Just another set of jewelry on it, I guess.
Yeah, and you can only have one.
Yeah, right.
You can only have one.
Exactly.
That's the law.
That's a good, yeah. Any other questions for Doug? We're not going to skip out. We have Rashilla has a presentation, correct?
Yes, she does.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, I'm Rashilla Twyford. I'm an Auditor 3, and I currently supervise the audit services and product investigation for the dairy program. So I will give a short synopsis of what our unit does under the dairy program. So we provide auditing and investigative support for NDA's dairy program and food safety services. Under the dairy program support, dairy product distribution licensing, remittance preparation, auditing procedures, complaint resolution, field investigations, and regulatory compliance. So our dairy program mission states that NDA dairy program is dedicated to assuring the availability of wholesome, nutritious dairy products and to promote a business climate that is economically viable for those who produce, process, or market dairy products in Nevada. The dairy program is funded from fees collected through licensing, permit fees, and assessments on regulated dairy products. So licensing in Nevada, in accordance with our Nevada Revised Statutes 584.595, no distributor may deal in fluid milk, fluid cream, or any other dairy products without first having obtained a license from the director. So these are the different dairy licenses that we have. We have the dairy distributor license, the bulk milk hauler and plant samplers, dairy and plant permits. All licenses and permits are renewed annually. So the dairy products that we regulate are fluid milk, creams, yogurt, butter, sour cream, cottage cheese, ice cream or novelties, and frozen mixes. We do not regulate the following, which is the aerosol whipping cream, plant-based milk products, non-lactating sources, cheeses including cream cheese, dairy powders, margarine, sorbet, and sour cream, dressing, or dips. When we conduct product investigation, we do retail price surveys, which is conducted monthly, and we look for new products when we do the field investigations to identify non-authorized dairy products within the state. So additional tasks would be maintaining satisfactory marketing conditions. This is to ensure distributors are in compliance with the minimum pricing requirements and do not sell below cost. There are no regulations on maximum pricing. And it's also noted that within 48 hours before midnight of date of expiration, a distributor may donate or discount a dairy product. And when they discount the product, they are permitted to sell below cost so that the products are used and not wasted or discarded. Items that we focus during store checks would be raw milk products, raw milk fat products, cheese wheels without labeling, grade A products repackaged, locally produced products, foreign products, unknown or new products. So we establish whether it's really a dairy product or not. So other product consideration would be, how is it packaged? Is it in a glass jar, paper cartons, plastic bottles or tubs, or squeeze pouches? We also take into consideration, where is the product made? What are the ingredients? How is it labeled or named? Or is there a standard of identity? So this is in our NRS, identification, labeling, and interpretation resources. We get our resources from the Interstate Milk Shippers, which is known as IMS, List Sanitation Compliance and Enforcement Ratings, which could be found in the FDA or USDA site. We also go under the CF Code of Federal Regulations, Title 21, Food and Drugs, Standard of Identity for a Product, Pasteurized Milk Ordinance, and Grade A products defined, which is also found in our NRS 584. So under the Grade A dairy product labels, when we go for store investigations, we check that the product is identified. So for example, if it's yogurt, it has to be labeled yogurt. Sour cream is sour cream. And it should indicate the Grade A stamp on it. It should show the interstate milk shippers listed plant and product codes. In addition to the above, the label should meet all other requirements, which would include the ingredients, use by date, container size, and so on. So raw milk products, which is unpasteurized, certified new milk products may only be sold to a hauler of milk or to a processing facility which is permitted or regulated by the state. This could be found on NRS 584.209. So milk fat products may not be sold for animal consumption without meeting labeling and color requirements. Also, they must be registered to the NDA Commercial Feed Program. So these are some pictures that we took when we went out for investigations, that we found cheese without any labeling. And then these are actually sour cream products that local stores would buy in bulk, and they would be repackaged, which is not allowed under Grade A regulations. And these are some cheese that are produced locally. So we had to check that the labels were in compliance with county regulations in terms of their labeling requirements. Next slide, we found some foreign products which was brought in from Iran. So they don't have any authority to be sold in the United States or in the state of Nevada. Then we found Russian milk that was being sold in some stores. Again, for USDA, we do not have any agreement with Russia to sell milk within the United States. Again, more milk from Russia that we found. And then we also go around to see new products. So these are some of the new products that came out. We have to check the ingredients. If it does say that it doesn't have milk as the first ingredient, then it's not really a dairy product. So we don't need to look at it. Sorry. So we also have collaboration with local health agencies that notify NDA when no distributor license or permits are held, and they send NDA, or they send us pictures or questionable dairy products. They also call and email NDA if they aren't sure of something they find in the field. So the local health agencies that we have connection with is Southern Health Nevada and Washoe County. So that is all. Thank you very much for giving me the time to give you a short synopsis of what we do under the audit services. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. I appreciate that. Any questions?
Yeah, how the hell are they getting foreign products through customs into Nevada and anywhere else in the United States?
Small amounts.
It's called suitcases.
Yeah.
Small amounts in big containers.
But in somebody's grocery store, it's not a small amount. Small amounts, you want to go to Russia and bring home a quart of milk, go ahead.
Well, if you think about a
But-
40-foot container, you know, I mean, if you're talking about, you know, pallet in a 40-foot container.
That's a lot.
That's why we got those auditors out there to. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of that too, those are like the, small little corner stores or something. It's not like a big chain or anything. That's where they find those type of products.
I have an update about the Russian milk. So we actually got in touch with FDA, and we had a joint investigation with California Department of Agriculture. So they went to the store and they actually destroyed about 8 pallets of the Russian milk.
Wow.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions for Doug and his team? We're gonna take a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back here to finish up. Thank you, guys.
That's why they pushed oil prices up so high, so.
It's really not oil in those tankers it's companies. I think I should take the milk for the oil.
This is true.
Yeah, I know.
You sit here listening to these reports.
Very cool.
I know.
That way, when you're recording, you have to do that.
Yeah, that's a question.
That's why they come out here with a verbal
We started, 12 months later.
This time blow you away. Right here in 87% seats in a rain season. 30 miles. 87% of the seats.
That's what I've been talking about.
It is the program.
I'm assuming they're renewable. It's that one. Rodeo.
Yeah.
We're not talking about it really.
Hopefully not like last time we were down
State in the United States has 2 senators regardless of
Don't you know of anywhere that they're
the
not?
definition of way to see.
Well, they're making their own diesel, so.
Because this one white person, this vote was of somebody of nationality.
Oh, okay. Exactly.
Somehow we can get it back in.
Yeah, I don't know about right now. I know, like.
I don't want you guys to prove damages somehow. You have
Which wears.
And then by the.
Whether they told them 20 or 20.
Yes, and survival.
The lawsuit.
We know that.
was the Senate was producing.
I think that's
This is why, with your state constitution, this is why.
Well, I mean, I did.
Pay taxes.
I have lunch with them.
And the Senate, two senators representing states do not pay taxes.
Well, and they waited that long, because now they're-
Budget bills have to come out of Congress. What was that?
It'll be interesting.
Well, and then
I just. That's right.
for some reason.
So that's where the lawsuit. Told them, look, lazy legislators, they call them lazy legislators.
The most I know about him is he was.
Yeah, we have all. The program's not that.
Horses. Tell me what it is. All the recesses are
At first, I said, yeah.
Illegality of Jerry. They should
That's okay, I knew you were busy.
As quick as Southwestern. Legislative committee.
Like the new COVID.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, things have changed. I'll give it I'm back on the. There's got 4 years left, and she's high schooler, or gonna be out of high school, so. Idaho, it's finally warmed up. It was funny. Man, this nap is full.
It's anything.
So it's like, he sent me a picture of a guy laying in the snow and then suntanning at the bottom. You know, like Nevada Day was in Idaho. He's enjoying it, so yeah, so that's me.
Well, how they, law is.
It's tied to all prior laws.
Water rights is, you know, cattle and all that.
No, it doesn't.
So that's
I just haven't listened.
that was, yeah, there was a lot of, bits and pieces of, but yeah, that will still be, there'll still be a prices were up and down, that's close, but because we're right over the hill, great location. Good protein, high protein.
There you go.
It's a big one. Like I said,
Well, actually,
Which is nice. I got to figure out what's good for my put my phone on. My son might possibly be a fire system. He's doing college like us right now, and he's enjoying college, which is just like a business degree. Mama, she's a teacher. I love her for that, because I hung out in her class for like 30 minutes. I can't do it. So that's my plan.
Every one of them.
Yes.
That's true.
I'm sorry. Keeping you healthy.
Saving my life.
That's right, that's right. I'm gonna keep you around.
So long.
You need to do.
You're good.
Just when we thought things couldn't get right.
How you doing?
With the dairy report, all I could think about this, you seen this video about the milking almonds?
No, I did that yesterday. I put on there yesterday morning, but I couldn't fly home last night. Well, the only place. So much.
All right, let's get this going. I know, isn't it?
When I was a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old.
All right, Sam, do we have this meeting back to order?
Yeah.
We had milk cow, but there was too many kids in there. You drank it all.
Girlfriend.
We're wrapped up with.
High rise off of Desert. But I several times saw him out on the sidewalk smoking. Smoking. But his wife was.
Are you guys ready?
I think so.
I know, it's like home week. We haven't seen each other forever. We'll catch back up. We're gonna fire back up. We just finished up with animal industry agenda item number 8. We're now moving to number 9, plant industry with Ash.
Good morning, everybody. For the record, Ashley Jefferson, the Plant Health and Compliance Division Administrator. I'm still trying to get that roll off the tongue there with the name change. So you guys have the board report in front of you. I'm just going to highlight you on some of the further developments that we've had on some of these updates and some new things that have happened since you got your report. So looking at division overview, I wanted to expand a little bit on some of our, under our partnership activities for our drought response working group. So Chris Reno, he is our drought specialist for the Department of Ag, and we've really been launching him into the wild, so to speak, to figure out and really engage with our industry on some unique challenges that they might be experiencing with drought. So we're trying to really kind of get the word out there that he's here, he can help with some of those water management plans, and frankly, just getting information from our industry on some strange things that might be happening indirectly from drought. The more information we have on those direct and indirect impacts, the more we can look at some of the state and federal funding sources and put our brains together and see what we can come up with for solutions. So just spreading that to further encourage folks to have that dialogue with Chris. Moving on to our annual Nevada EDRR meeting, I just wanted to mention, since I mentioned this during our last meeting, we do have a fairly significant purple loose stripe infestation along the Truckee corridor. I'm sure a lot of you guys have actually seen it driving around Reno. We are still working with City of Sparks, City of Reno, and Washoe County and trying to execute a project on that. Right now, City of Sparks wanted to do some site verification, so we're kind of waiting on that before we really hit the ground running. But those discussions are still happening. We have a plan, and hopefully by the next board report, we'll have some good outcomes. Moving on to our next page here. So actually, we had a produce safety training yesterday, one of the first ones in person we've had for a while, so that was really enjoyable. And something that kind of came to our attention is there's still some confusion from folks with the Food Safety Modernization Act, the produce safety rule that came out. It was really aimed at folks that grow produce having preventative measures for food safety as opposed to reacting to them. And it's very much geared at biological pathogens that are entering our food system. But a couple of the folks there are were under the impression that they can't use manure, and that is absolutely not the case. So I just wanted to express that to the board that these new federal rules do not prohibit the use of manure. It's more of looking at when the risk is that they're applied, how they're applied, what they're applied to, those types of things. So we had a really good discussion on that, and our team's going to be doing some more outreach to make sure that that's very clear, especially with the rising prices of soil amendments. So I just wanted to mention that since it did come up yesterday. Moving down to our program updates, you see here listing some of the new plant diseases that our plant pathology lab has identified. I really just wanted to expand a little bit on the implications of some of this information. It's great that we're finding these things. It's not great that we're finding the pathogens, but it's great that we have more science at our fingertips to try to figure out what's going on. So what usually happens here is, depending on where a company is exporting, the country that's receiving may have specific limitations that are disease specific, pest specific, or whatever it may be. So by actually listing these specific pests, that can be one of the implications. When we're doing inspections, frankly, we don't want to see anything being shipped, because of course that's going to be a problem. But just, I mentioned it here and I wanted to expand a little bit on that. When we get a request, they go into a major database that lists all of those limitations per country, and more things are continuing to be added. But just for your information on how that works. All right, I am jumping all the way to our noxious weeds program. Sorry, on page 3. So we did get just shy of $18,000 for our biological control program. This was a big surprise. We actually thought that whole program was going to be cut by how things were sounding, but instead we got additional funds for 3 new species. So Russian knapweed, leafy spurge, Canada thistle. This certainly isn't a cure-all, but it's another tool in the toolbox to help combat some of our noxious weed issues. So that was a big win on our part with APHIS. So jumping into our crops program, I just wanted to mention that we will be giving you guys an update on our 2022 hemp program participation. During the last meeting, I talked about what a decline we've seen in program participation with commodity pricing, federal rules, and so forth. So I didn't include it here because we're still getting a surge. It wouldn't have been very reflective, but I'll make sure you guys get that by the next round. The renewal period starts the first of the year, and it can usually up until June is when we continue to get those applications. Okay, here for our shipping point team. So our folks just got back from doing training in Idaho to be able to do terminal marketplace inspections for our potato growers. Excuse me. And so we are quickly actually making progress in getting them certified so we can start to do those inspections. Just to refresh your memory a little bit, before they were having to source from USDA, the costs were about twice that for their hourly inspection rates, and they had to travel quite a ways. So it's exciting to potentially have staff available to do that, and we were able to get the travel fund secured through grants. With our team growing and having, we have a really well-trained and skilled team that are doing these inspections. They have been authorized to go to Texas for a 5-week training program for terminal marketplace inspections, and what that means is, as we're getting requests to verify quality, condition, and pest issues for certain commodities, we can actually launch our team to go do those off the cuff. Again, those charges in the past, either folks just haven't been going through it and products have been rejected, or they've had to source USDA inspectors and pay a very large fee for the travel and for their fee rate. So it's exciting. I think we're going to have some great things to report over the summer. It's going to take some time to get people used to us doing that and a lot of outreach, but we're getting there. Okay, the last thing that I have for our nursery update, I did mention here a trace forward that we had involving a Japanese beetle issue. So you have that information there, but I wanted to expand on what that trace forward looks like, because we actually just had a huge one with citrus canker. So we received notice here in the last 2 weeks that there was a nursery that was that had citrus canker or diseases impacting their let's see, key lime and sorry, I had it underlined here, Meyer lemon plants. The problem is with this pathogen is it impacts all citrus. So they're doing a trace forward, seeing where all those plants went, and we found that nursery did direct ship about 3,000 of those plants direct to homeowners or landscapers. So thankfully, there is a fairly comprehensive list of where those have gone. Our state received 300 of them, and we are making phone calls, tracking, trying to get those because they will have to be destroyed. Just for context, this is an established disease in Florida. It's starting to become more present in Louisiana, Texas, and Alabama, but we certainly don't want it here. So as you can imagine, and our team's on it, and we'll have a report on what we find at the next meeting. I'm done. That's it. That'll conclude my presentation.
Yes, go ahead.
Last week I attended the National Allium Research Conference in Denver, and I thought it was a really great conference, and I would really like to see the department send one or more people in the future.
I would agree. That sounds good. I will do some research and put that on our budget bill request.
Okay, good, thank you.
Board have any more questions for Ashley? Good luck on getting those trees.
Yeah.
Don't be messing with my key lime pie.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Thank you. Next item is number 10, measurements and standards cadence.
Still morning, right? Yes.
Yeah,
We're inching up there.
We're hanging in there.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Ott. For the record, my name is Cadence Matievich, and I have the privilege of serving as the administrator for NDA's Division of Measurement Standards. And it's so nice to be sitting here before you calling my division the Division of Measurement Standards. Nice. After that change that came in the last legislative session. So. You have my report before you. I won't belabor many of the statistical information that's here. I will note a typographical error that I noticed as I was sitting back against the wall there. The numbers reported for the Petroleum Technology Program are as of February 18th, 2022, not 2021. So my apologies for that. Still getting used to that year change. So please forgive that typo. Just a couple of notes on administrative rulemaking updates from what's in your board. Since we prepared this report, we have set the date for the workshop for LCB file R03821. That is the regulation pertaining to E15 gasoline. And so that has been set for April 6th at 10:30 a.m. That will be a virtual workshop. And it was posted yesterday, and notice will be sent out today through all of our various communications methods. So moving forward on that and looking to bring that to you at your June board meeting to hold a hearing for adoption of that in order to meet the legislative mandate of having those regulations put into place by the end of June of this year. And so with that, I will move into the primary pending matter of significance that's included in your report today, and which Board Member Drake mentioned in her update, and that is the matter of persistent diesel fuel dispenser filter clogging. This is an issue that NDA has been involved with now for the second winter in a row. There are some reports from industry that certain retailers and wholesalers perhaps were even experiencing it in years prior. There's an outline in your board report as to our recent communications with Kinder Morgan, the operator of the pipeline and the terminal here in Sparks, Nevada. We, while not scientifically, but through reports, only have identified this issue with fuel that is being distributed from the rack at Kinder Morgan's terminal in Sparks. We do not see it at retail stations or other fuel operations in northern Nevada that may have purchased their fuel from Salt Lake
or had it transported from either Las Vegas or outside of the state. And so we believe that whatever the cause of this is consolidated to that facility, where in the supply chain for products for diesel going into that facility the issue is stemming from has not been definitively identified yet. There is a likely culprit, and Kinder Morgan continues, as is outlined in my report there, to do some testing. We did contact them last week, asking them for a report on what the findings of their laboratory had been. They acknowledged that request, but have not yet provided us with any additional information. Today marks 5 weeks from the time that their vendor's laboratory received samples of both fuel and clogged filters that were collected by the Petroleum Marketers Association here in Northern Nevada. And so I'm hopeful that we will receive information from them shortly, and the department is continuing to look at all available options to address this issue, including discussions with the Attorney General's office regarding our enforcement authority and capabilities in this matter. So it's I will acknowledge it has been incredibly frustrating for industry. It's an added expense. Supply chain issues with filters are exacerbating the problem. It's been a very confounding issue for us. It's not something that we've ever seen. As I indicated in my report, we were fortunate to have a third-party laboratory for a fuel company that does not do business in the state of Nevada offer to help us with some of the forensic analysis that they did back in December. It was the first time that they had ever seen the compound in the fuel behave in this manner. So it is something we believe that is unique, and we too are very anxious to definitively identify the cause so that we can figure out a resolution. I realize I just said a lot to say. I don't have anything new to tell you, but would be pleased to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Sounds like you guys are working it out.
Yeah, we are. Admittedly, the answers are not coming as quickly as we would like. We do want the analysis that's being undertaken to be done properly and follow best scientific practices. So we don't want to rush, and we don't want to speculate as to why things are taking as long as they are. But we have been communicating a sense of urgency and intend to increase the frequency at which we're communicating that sense of urgency to Kinder Morgan. And since it will be quite some time before we are before you again, I'm certainly hopeful that we will have information to send out prior to the June meeting, and hopefully have a final report for you.
Valerie Drake. Hopefully we will, because when it starts warming up, this issue will miraculously disappear. And so hopefully issues will be taken care of before next winter, so we have no more filter problems. Because they've gone from maybe changing the filters once or twice a year to literally once or twice, 3 times a week for pumps. So it's been quite costly in the petroleum industry. But I know Cadence and Bill have been really working hard, so.
Yes. And one other thing that I would mention, also in response, Board Member Drake, you mentioned during your comments, and several others did as well, about the current price of fuel. We in the division do not have authority over the price of fuel, but within the scope of our authority is to ensure that retailers are selling the fuel for the price that they are advertising it for. And so our inspectors are being even more diligent about checking that than normal when they're out doing their inspections. We have been getting an increased volume in number of consumers inquiring as to what we're thinking with setting these fuel rates at the rate that they are. So we work to educate them that we do not set the fuel rate. And we have also been in communication with the Bureau of Consumer Protection at the Attorney General's office, which does have authority if there are instances of price gouging. We think that those are really few and far between. But certainly if we get any reports, we work collaboratively with them, and if they similarly get reports that are related to advertising and pricing, they forward them to us so that we can address them right away. So we're doing our best to share that information with consumers and connect them with the right resource if in fact they have found an issue.
Thanks, Keith. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you.
Got away easy there.
I know. Thank you so much. I know, right?
Told you was nervous.
That was a good one. Thank you. It's appreciated. All right, we're moving to item number 11. We're going to do Jerry. Is she?
I'm gonna do the report. Yep.
Director Outlaw.
As soon as I can find it. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. For the record, I'll provide the report on the Division of Administrative Services. Deputy Director Conrad is at the opening of our the state's budget process today. So that is that's a good word. Right. I wanted to just give a quick overview of the external activities. Our trade and economic development team, our intrepid team of two, have been doing such a great job of working and providing opportunities to Nevada agriculture companies and food and beverage companies to expand and grow their businesses. We hosted a virtual trade mission on February 7th with buyers from Hong Kong, and our senior trade officer went to Dubai with a Nevada company to make contacts there and meet with buyers in order to further that company's ability to trade internationally. We've already gone over the craft beverage passport, and the trade season is picking up greatly. With many more in-person events this year than we've experienced, of course, over the last 2 years. So there's trade events all over the world that we will be participating in, as well as inbound trade missions to Nevada to help our Nevada companies. So we look forward to reporting out on those. Also, again, our intrepid communications and promotions team of two continues to get a lot of work done. A lot of news stories, press releases that we're releasing on the work that we're doing. I did want to highlight the monthly newsletter, the director's newsletter that is released every single month. If you don't have an opportunity to read through those, sometimes they're long, but it's because we're doing a lot and we have a lot to report out and a lot to talk about. And so I really encourage you to look at those and pass them on to those that may not be getting them, because there's a lot of great information, and we spend a lot of time on those newsletters just so that the industry can have an idea of not only what we're doing, but what's coming up. And then our team is also responsible for putting out all of the notices on regulations that we continue to have over this year and will continue to have in the spring. Prior to the deadline for the next legislative session. So keep an eye out on those. Also, please pass them on to your industries as well for those that are in the subject matter. It's really important that we get as much industry input and public input to these regulation changes as possible. And sort of kind of back to the trade side, I do also want to highlight as part of the monthly newsletters, and we also have available quarterly trade reports. We typically in the past have only done the biannual trade reports for the legislative session, but we now provide them quarterly to keep everyone up to date on trade and economic impact or economic activities in the state. And it's a great tool and a great way to track the progress of agriculture in the state. So just keep an eye out for those. Any questions?
Could you explain what happened to Sandhill Dairy? They had a whole milk recall.
They did. So I can, Doug, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I can. For the record, Doug Ferris, there was a voluntary whole milk recall due to an issue with the pasteurization process on one load of milk.
Okay.
And so everything's been resolved. They identified what the issue was and caused it. Everything's been resolved at this time.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? You did good. We should hit you with all these questions.
Thank you, Doug.
We're moving on to food and nutrition with Oma. Agenda item number 12.
Good morning. For the record, Oma and Food Administrator for Division of Food and Nutrition. I'll start with the pending matters of significance. USDA released 2022 Summer Food Service waiver request form for 4 frequently requested waivers, and we elected all 4 of them to make it easy on our school children. And also, in the lieu of traditional USDA management evaluation, we participated in the 2-part child nutrition oversight interview with Western Region office, and we received compliment about our operation in general and specifically for last 2 years during the pandemic. And we also received over $8 million through Supply Chain Assistance Fund to assist to distribute it to school food authorities to assist them in those districts that are experiencing supply chain disruption. This fund can be used only for domestic unprocessed or minimally processed food, and there is a predetermined formula for us to distribute it to the school food authorities. It's $5,000 base, and then based on the student enrollment, we are distributing to the school food authorities. We also utilizing American Rescue Plan Fund through our Community Food Access Grant to release a grant to enhance food access in underserved communities. And this grant provides opportunity to community organizations, public and tribal entities that are engaged in food activities, and we are anticipating to release about $430,000, and the application is going to be released on April 1st. In terms of partnership, I report on this one every time. We have an ongoing collaboration with the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Public Behavior Health, and this is the steering committee for prevention of obesity that we participate to provide information about our programs and also help them with the plan for prevention for promoting obesity preventing behavior. Along the same line, we also collaborate with the Southern Nevada Obesity Prevention Coalition, that is an organization that is working with networking, information sharing, and advocacy opportunities for all members. With our teams, school nutrition team collaborates with the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Welfare and Supportive Services, and they're writing, the Division of Welfare is writing a plan for pandemic PEBT, and we are helping them with reviewing the plan and providing all requested information. A program update, our community nutrition which consists of child adult care program and, excuse me, and summer food service program. They reviewed 16 child care and adult care facilities, and from July 1 to January 31st, we served over 2.5 million meals through our child and adult care food program, and over 1 million to summer food service programs. With school nutrition also, they are conducting the compliance review, and they have scheduled 14 of them. And from July 1 to December, we served over 17 million lunch and 10 million breakfast. With the food distribution team, the emergency food assistance program clients continue to receive food through Food Bank of Northern Nevada and Tree Square. And I have listed monthly distribution, but in summary, we distributed about 10 million tons to average of 130,000 people per month. And then with our commodity supplemental food program, which provides food to our seniors, packaged food to our seniors. As I mentioned previously, we have a new partner, the Just One Project, that joined us in November, and they are joining with Elko Fish and Food Bank of Northern Nevada to provide packaged food to our seniors. And the Just One Project served about 1,300 seniors in November and close to 1,300 seniors in December. They haven't met their goal yet, but they're hoping to meet their goal by June and serve 4,300 seniors. That concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you. You guys got any questions for Emma?
I do. Bernard Peterson. I have a question for you on your statewide food distribution program, Community Food Access Grant. That money's not the monies, but the food that's going out to a lot of these smaller communities. We locally have a once a month or something.
3 squares.
I know of a couple of people that always are there, and one of them has worked for me. But there seems to be a quality control problem with the food. Many times, and I'll give you an example. I know of one good example. There was cartoned milk that is shelf life carton milk. You know, it's got a long shelf life. It's not, you don't have to refrigerate it. But the use by date was like 6 months ago, and that's what they were delivering in Ely. I have a couple of Peruvian boys that work for me seasonally, and they've been through the food bank before. And most of the products, the boxed things that they get are expired products. And so it seems like there could be a quality control problem with distribution where I don't know if the foods you're receiving are already manufacturally expired, and or the rotation out of warehouses isn't getting done. But I actually have personal experience with an employee that more than once has been through the system and received food products that are shelf life was long gone. I mean, like 6 months ago, and that was a milk product. So it's concerning that we're funding the program, but how do we? What is the quality control to make sure the program is safe and healthy for the people receiving it?
Well, I will look into it. But as far as I know, the food that comes from USDA is not expired. But we had incidents that the food has been expired, and we took those out of shelves and didn't distribute it. And one happened a couple of months ago, and we were aware of it, and we took it off the shelf. And my staff go to places like cold storage that we have in Las Vegas that it is under our control. They do inventory and make sure that the dates are good. But through Food Bank, I need to do some more research to see how we can do that quality controls through our community partners that they distribute food. But for our own warehouses, we do inventory every month, making sure that there is nothing expired.
And they receive their products from you?
Yeah, yes, but
Okay.
Sorry, Jennifer, for the record, not all of them.
not all of them.
Yeah.
Some, the product, we have control over the products that they take from us, not from donated.
Right, okay, thank you.
But we do inventory every month.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, appreciate it. That's a lot of, that's pretty remarkable what you've done. I mean, the numbers speak highly in certain circumstances. I mean, a lot of people are in need, you know, in the senior program and the school program. Finally, the kids are back at school and doing that. That's been an uptick, I'm sure, for you and your staff, so.
Thank you.
I appreciate what you do, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving to 13, we're almost there. Public comment. Is there any public comment in the World Wide Web out there?
There is nobody in Elko. And I don't see anybody in Las Vegas. Anybody in Parks? No. If you're joining us online and you would like to make public comment, if you're in the participant panel and you hover over your name, you can raise your hand there and we can call on you.
Do you want to say something to somebody?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Pete Paris. Is it okay for the board to make a comment?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, earlier in the meeting, when the JAG suggested that he needed to discuss some issues with the bylaws with you, I would just like to make the recommendation to make sure that that does happen. And then if it's appropriate or can be done, maybe we could have an executive session at the next board meeting with the JAG, so all board members could be somewhat involved to figure out what those issues are, or if you deem it, you know, if it's something minor, then so be it. But maybe it's something that we as a whole board would need to discuss. Just throwing that out there if anybody else has any other suggestions or ideas. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete, appreciate it. Any other public comment out there? All right, hearing none, public comment is closed. And we've made it to 14. So we will adjourn for today. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it. There's plenty of Krispy Kreme donuts left. So apparently we're going to have to get lunch for next time. So appreciate your guys' time and looking forward to seeing everyone again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,